All right, let's go on with today's essay. We're going to do one more advantages, disadvantages opinion essay. We're going to talk about improving the quality of body paragraphs. And after we do that, Dina wanted to go over a writing task 1 prompt. So if you don't want to stick around for that, that's fine. I'll just go through it with Dina. Did anyone read the article that I posted last night? Maybe you didn't see the link.
I read I read it once, to be honest.
Okay. The reason I posted that one is there's a lot of articles about this topic. So the prompt is, many people are now working from home, but this presents a challenge for supervision. As a result, many employers are forcing their employees to install software which closely monitors how they're using their computer at home. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages and give your opinion. So I chose this particular article from the New York Times because it's written in a story format.
Yes.
There's a lot of articles, but they're very dry and kind of abstract. It's about other people, but I really like this one because the author subjected himself to this technology, and then his boss also saw how it worked, and they talked about how this technology works with the owner of the company.
Yes.
So what did you?
Actually, yes, very good idea. I mean, I never thought about it. Sometimes in myself, I say how they can those employers check the productivity of the or make sure that they are working for this times of hours. But maybe I think it's they check the productivity if they finish their goals or what. But this is very, I mean, good idea. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. How would you describe the technology used to monitor employees who are working from home? Dina?
How would you describe technology used to monitor employees?
So
What I understand.
Yeah, based on that article.
What I understand, as you said, they install a type of software. They call it hubs something. And this one, they will track how many times the employees go to use other type of platforms like Facebook or Twitter, and how many times they browse their emails, or they will chat with others, or they use their camera to do take some photos. So they count. They will register all this one, and they put it in at a time, and they see.
So how do they use? How do they use your computer camera?
The software, how they will use?
Yeah, how does the software use your computer's camera?
I don't know, maybe when you install it on your phone apps, it will check that you are opening your camera.
So one of the technologies is that your camera will take a snapshot of you every 10 minutes, for example, or every 5 minutes, just to make sure that you're actually sitting in front of your computer. So that's one of the technologies that's mentioned. And they also refer to screenshots.
Yes.
So how are screenshots used?
I don't know.
Again, on a schedule, on a fixed or random schedule, the app will just take a screenshot of your screen. So whoever's monitoring you can see what you're doing at any point, whether you're on a. So the author mentions that these screenshots captured, for example, a physical fitness class he was participating in online. They would capture his use of email, apps that he was using like Word, his browsing, just anything that was on his computer screen would get
Maybe
captured by these.
Maybe
And,
anything outside his main work.
yeah, well, it just captures everything, right?
So it's like a camera. They will like install a camera, see tracking what you are doing.
No, it's not a screenshot. It's like every computer has screen clipping software. Or do you know on your phone, if you want to share an image of what's on your screen with someone, you can press like 2 buttons on your phone and then it'll snap a picture of whatever you see? Like, for example, I have an app installed on my computer because I have to show people how to fix different apps that they're working on all the time. So I have screen capture software that I installed on my computer. So if I just press one button on my keyboard, it will take a photo of everything that I see on my screen.
Okay.
So this app takes a screenshot of your monitor, and that is shared with anyone who is supervising your work. They can review that kind of imagery. How did the author's boss feel about all of this information that he was given? Did you catch that part?
No.
His
Maybe
boss,
he's surprised.
he was uncomfortable. He felt uncomfortable seeing all of this personal information about everything that his employee was doing on a computer.
That's like, the privacy issue or confidentiality.
This is a very important point. What effect did the use of this tracking software have on the author's work behavior?
I think what I understand, after the employees recognize that this software is going on, so their behavior is improved. I mean, they start to log in on time and they use it like properly only for work related issues.
Yeah, exactly. And in the story, they talk about one company owner who noticed very quickly that during this coronavirus pandemic, his workers were starting work later and later every day. They were like logging in at 10 o'clock or 10:30 for the first time. And then when he implemented the software, they started logging in on time and their productivity improved, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the main advantages?
But in the beginning, I'm not sure. They said the percentage of productivity didn't improve in the first week, or
So there's a couple things going on in this article. So the author is a journalist. So this kind of tracking software isn't 100% relevant for all types of work. Because a journalist is going to spend a lot of time on phone calls. So the guy was like working 14 hours a day, but his productivity score was very low. But that's
Yes.
because of the type of work that he's doing.
Type of work. So yeah.
So for a
So
customer,
this type of software will be not implemented equally to all types of work.
yeah. I mean, if your job is like customer support from home, then maybe that's relevant. But if it's more creative work, it's not so easy to measure what is productive and what's not productive. In his case, for example, being on Twitter might not be a waste of time. He might be doing research, reading people's comments about a particular issue that he's writing about. But in general, I think that one article gives you more than enough information to give a really well-developed response to this prompt. So what were the major advantages? What was that example? We just talked about it like 2 minutes ago.
Forcing people to log in early.
Yep. Let's say causes workers to log in on time. And what else?
Increase productivity.
And we have an example, right? Let's say company had workers working from home. Boss noticed they were logging in late and not being very productive. Implemented tracking technology. Let's say productivity tracking technology, and what happened? Productivity immediately improved because employees knew they were being monitored. Do you need to say anything more than this? Right, it works. I think simply put, it just works. People behave differently when they know they're being watched, right?
Mm.
Like even in stores, when you see, for example, a cardboard cutout of a police officer at a retailer, research shows that those cardboard cutouts make people behave more honestly. They've done research comparing the effectiveness of signs that say you're being watched compared to signs that have like a human face and then it says you're being watched. And the signs that have a human face showing that you're being watched motivate people to behave much more honestly. So when people know that someone is looking over their shoulder, they do behave differently. Write that down. When people know they are being watched, they behave as they are expected to behave. On their best behavior. Okay, what are the downsides?
No privacy.
Mm-hmm.
confidentiality for employee.
Sorry, Safa,
No?
there's some issues with your audio. It's very distorted.
Yeah, I think I have some problem with the internet.
Right now it's okay. Okay, can you just repeat your last point?
Loss of confidentiality for employee.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same, yeah. How would you develop this idea? Do you need to develop this idea?
Which idea?
The loss of confidentiality, the loss of privacy. So my question is going to be, so what? Do you have privacy or confidentiality when you're in an office?
No, you don't. You don't have confidentiality. But like when I read it in the articles, it's even like track you when you are walking in the park, and shows the manager that you are on Snapchat. It's not. It's like okay, it can show the boss like you are out of the Excel or the software, but not on specify Twitter and Snapchat. And
Usually, if you feel you're all the time under surveillance or somebody like watch you, you don't feel, you will not feel comfortable, and this is will affect your concentration and productivity.
So could you explain some mechanism by which being under surveillance would make you less productive? Or do you think it always makes people more productive?
okay, surveillance in like in the job manner, like in the job gap. Like for example, this is the print of the finger. Okay, in and out, but not like apps and camera watch you. How's that?
Okay, so this is all true, but you need to be able to articulate why this is a problem.
Like it's he like I don't know, to be honest.
So that's what we're missing. Why is all this stuff a problem?
Because this is the nature of the human being. He loves privacy. It's something like internal issue.
So one thing that was touched upon,
Psychology of the human being.
this is what I got from it. It makes you feel like your employer doesn't trust you.
Yes, trust issue.
So it leads to feelings of resentment against the employer. What does resentment mean?
That you don't like?
Mm-hmm. Like you don't like someone because they're not giving you or treating you in a way that you think you deserve. So that might lead to, if you're looking for a consequence, higher turnover. What does turnover mean?
Like again?
The employees, they will resign
Yeah.
frequently or quickly.
Mm-hmm. For example, fast food restaurants have extremely high employee turnover, 50 to like 90% per year. 50 to 90% of fast food restaurant employees quit every year. So this is a consequence. Was there anything else that we could add? Right, so there's some vocabulary here. We talked about surveillance, and very often we talk about being under surveillance. So surveillance by itself is, you'd use it with like surveillance technology, surveillance camera, employees are under surveillance. Tracking technology, monitoring, employee oversight or employer oversight. The employer oversees what the employees are doing. Another expression that refers to this is constantly looking over their shoulder. How do you feel about your boss? Constantly looking over your shoulder. As a good phrase is, it ensures productivity, prevents or discourages slacking off. What does slacking off mean? Means being lazy. Do you know what slack means? Slack means not tight. For example, a guitar string. If the strings are too slack, they don't make the proper sound, you need to tighten them. Okay, and then people would say it's very intrusive. What does intrusive mean?
Boring?
Sorry?
Boring?
Not boring. What's an intruder? Intrude means to go someplace where you're not supposed to be. So an intruder is someone who's broken into your house or broken into a business. So alarms will sometimes say intruder alert, at least in a cartoon. If you're overhearing someone, if you overhear someone say something like, let's say you're standing in line and you're kind of eavesdropping on someone's conversation, you overhear something and you want to jump into their conversation, you could say, sorry to intrude. Sorry, I don't mean to intrude, but I overheard you say. Okay, so which side would you pick? Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, or do the disadvantages outweigh the advantages?
Maybe easier to talk about the advantages outweigh the disadvantage.
That to me seems easier because these arguments on this side are stronger, right? So it doesn't matter how you personally feel about this. I personally would not like to be monitored in this way, but I would understand why my boss would want to do it. right? And they kind of have a right to do so, in a sense, because they're paying you. In some cases, companies have contracts where the person who hires the company is paying them by each hour worked by each contractor. So they need a way to justify the amount of money that they bill. So I can appreciate why companies are doing this. In a sense, this for me, yes, I agree with Dina. This is much easier to talk about, even though my feelings are on this side. Okay, so why don't we write a thesis statement? Let's do the full thesis statement. Basic thesis is for the introduction. And Dina, you were asking me about whether this basic thesis for the introduction is okay. By basic thesis, I mean this. While tracking technology has a number of disadvantages, there are clear benefits to this idea. So that's a basic thesis statement. It's perfectly acceptable. The only purpose of the introduction is to mention the topic and give your position on the issue. If you look at the rubric, the marking criteria, there's no points for the introduction. It's the body paragraphs where you get most of your marks. So there's no point on IELTS of spending a lot of time on this. It has to fulfill a purpose of stating the context and giving your position. So that's the context and the thesis and nothing else. There's no benefit to you of writing a full thesis statement in the introduction. It just leads to more possibility of mistakes. So just memorize these basic thesis statements and just use them, because that's one less thing that you need to think about. You just do it quick, get it out of the way. All right, so I'll give you let's say 5 minutes to write a thesis statement. And if you want to look at this, then I can share this document with you too. Here, let me just put this in the chat first. It's being slow. All right, so I'll give you 5 minutes to write your thesis statement. Full thesis, please, the one that you would use for your conclusion. Okay, while monitoring, it's just spelling employees work from home. Okay. Dina, because this is possessive, you've got an issue here. If you get rid of the possessive, it's okay.
Okay.
Because this is short for
who are working from home.
Right, so this is a participial phrase, but if you make it possessive, it would need to be employees work from home.
Yeah.
Right. Sounds uncomfortable for them due to lack of. I would use a little bit stronger language, and I would say is uncomfortable.
Sounds because it's like they call it like hedging language.
Hedging language, yes.
Yeah, I heard about it. Like
we'll use can be.
Can be or seems uncomfortable. Here, uncomfortable. We need to put for them.
I would.
It will be clear without it.
It's clear without it. You can leave it in. It's okay.
Hmm.
Safa, on a pronunciation note, this word is pronounced comfortable, uncomfortable. This is one of those situations where there's not too many, but the pronunciation completely does not match the spelling. So if you use the word comfort, it's pronounced the way it's spelled. But this word, it's not pronounced comfortable. People say comfortable. So it's F-T-E-R. This is the phonetic spelling, comfortable.
Comfortable. Okay.
Can you say it again?
Comfortable.
No. There's no vowel sound between the F and the T. Comfter, fter, like after. Comforter, after.
Comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the opposite would be uncomfortable. The patient is uncomfortable. Okay, we need to ensure the patient's comfort because she is uncomfortable. Okay. I believe the advantage of improving companies' productivity outweighs any disadvantage. Good. Nice format. We've got Allah's here. Very nice. Has a number of disadvantages, such as lack of privacy and okay, Safa, what do we put at the end here?
Where?
If you can see my screen.
Yeah. Lack of privacy and increase employee stress.
Increased. Actually, both would work here, increasing and increased employee stress. There are clear benefits of this idea. So in this format, for the conclusion, you've listed the reasons, lack of privacy and increased stress, but then there are clear benefits of this idea. You should also, just for the parallel structure of this comparison, indicate what the benefits are. So I would say especially, or in particular, and how would you very briefly summarize that?
Increases work productivity.
Especially. So we've got increased here. What's a synonym for increased?
Rising work productivity.
Growing.
Growing, or simply higher.
Oh, yeah.
Or greater worker productivity. So this idea, especially higher or greater work productivity. Okay, nice.
Worker productivity, we need to put apostrophe?
No. This is a noun phrase, worker productivity. As a result of the COVID-19 situation, worker productivity has declined.
Okay, I have a question. When we wrote such as, we need to put article, a lack of privacy, or when we do example like or such, no need?
In this case, both are fine. You could put such as a lack of privacy or such as lack of privacy.
Okay. And such as, we need to put comma before?
Never.
Never. Oh.
The comma goes after the last item.
Sometimes before we put an such as specifically, they put comma before such as.
but not after such as.
Before.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, for example,
This comma is optional, but normally people say, for example, I need to. Okay. Here you could put a comma before such as, but you won't put a comma after such as.
yes, after I know, but I thought before, yeah.
Before, optional. But after, for example, okay, and then Safa, do we have yours?
Yeah, just 1 second. Now I paused.
Okay. There we go. I see it. The is okay, but it's optional. Let's just leave it like this. Arguments on both sides of this issue have their merits. Good remembering. It's certainly true that monitoring employees all the time. Very nice. I love the structure. Just a couple small grammar issues.
In
Small,
terms of,
yeah, small but important. Safa, how about this one?
Drawbacks. It's like parallel. So because I use have, but I don't know if I have to use monitoring employees all the time has this drawback. Oh yeah, because it's going from monitoring. Yeah, has.
Right, monitoring is singular.
Yeah.
Has some drawbacks. However, the tomatoes are far greater in terms, and Dina said it, but did you catch it?
Of product in terms of productivity and quality of work. And workers. The apostrophe, then discipline.
Yeah, so is it apostrophe S or S apostrophe?
S apostrophe.
Good. The other way to do it would be to use the noun phrase worker discipline.
Okay.
Then this whole thing is a big noun, whereas here you need a possessive. Okay, very nice. So one thing I wanted to talk about today, and this is a question that often comes up if it's possible to get task achievement higher than band 7. Because if you can get task achievement higher than band 7, then that could offset a lower score on grammar. It'd be very nice if we could do that. That being said, from discussions with numerous writing examiners, it's incredibly unusual to get over 7 on task achievement. One way or one example or one way that I can tell you about to get higher than band 7 is that people who are writing at a band 8 level use language like this. They don't just say research shows. They'll say an editorial in the Toronto Star last week argued that, or a report released by Harvard University several years ago showed that. Statistics published by the New York Times last year revealed that. This is the kind of language that's typical in Band 8 responses. Right? This is much more detailed than just saying research shows. Statistics show. Statistics that were, who came up with the statistics and where were they published? That's the kind of language that you would use if you were writing an essay in university or some kind of research report. You always have to say where you found the stats, who commissioned them or who did the study, where the study was published, when it was published. All those bits of information belong in that sentence. So this is the kind of development that they are looking for. And it's not, again, this is not something crazy about IELTS that they're making this kind of requirement. This is a requirement of all good writing, whether it's academic or business or published in some kind of newspaper or periodical. Okay. So why don't we develop one of these paragraphs? Let's see here. Productivity. So everyone chose the same perspective. Why don't we work on this paragraph, the side you agree with? Okay, let's go through this. Maybe we can all take turns. Start with Dina. What's our topic sentence going to be? This is the second body paragraph, the side we agree with. So we've got a thesis statement. Right. Once you have your thesis statement, you don't need to write linearly. You can transform that thesis statement into a basic thesis. You've got your two topic sentences because each topic sentence for the body paragraphs is basically half the thesis. So what is this topic sentence going to be for the side we agree with? Dina, go ahead.
Yes, on the other hand, there are obvious benefits of monitoring workers at home. And then home.
Which outweigh
which outweigh any disadvantage or the disadvantages.
Yes, this statement is important. It's often, I'll put it this way, it often seems clear to you what your position is, but it's not as clear as it could be for the reader. Just put these 4 words in, and then your position on the issue is crystal clear, which outweigh the On the other hand, there are obvious benefits of monitoring workers at home, which outweigh the disadvantages.
There are always benefits not to monitoring.
It could be benefits to, benefits with. Benefits of is the most common one.
Most common one. So
not benefits with, benefits associated with would be the phrase. There are obvious benefits associated with monitoring workers at home. This is a good phrase too.
Or connected with.
Yes, that could work too. And that's an example of passive. It's a passive participle. Okay.
Supporters, here we say.
Yeah, proponents, same as supporters. Proponents Proponents is a more unusual word, but it's a very good one. It's very specific. Proponents of...
So my question here, if I agree, it is difference which word I use here. I will say supporters or critics.
Well, critics would be, like, if you agree that this is a bad idea, then you would say critics of monitoring workers at home point to such and such a problem.
So maybe I use it in the first paragraph, but here, because I am like agreeing with this part, I would say supporters.
Yes. Okay, Ala, what's our next sentence going to be?
Okay, so proponents of tracking workers at home increases increases work productivity.
Worker productivity or the productivity of work? Just increases
worker productivity.
Worker productivity.
And or yes.
We're missing 3 words. Because it's not proponents increases worker productivity.
Okay, so proponents of tracking at home with the software, with the...
You're missing the beginning of the predicate. Because this whole thing here, this is your subject. But this subject doesn't match this verb. There's something that needs to be here in the middle.
At home with the monitoring software increases.
It's not concept vocabulary. It's just pure grammar. Proponents, you need to say something like state that or believe.
Need verb.
Yeah. Proponents believe, proponents state, proponents argue. You need one of those words. Point out. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Let's use the example of our New York Times article. Safa.
Yeah. Okay. Evidence. I can say report released by BC University.
Well, let's use the article that we just did. Article.
Published.
So we'll say this year. I don't remember when that article was published.
Okay. Showed.
Showed. Or here's a better word, revealed.
Revealed, okay. Actually, I didn't read the article, so I don't.
Okay, but we did summarize it, so you don't need it perfectly, but you just need to give us the gist, the main idea.
Reveal that the companies use.
Mm-hmm.
Reveal that the companies use the what we call that, a snapshot. Program.
Let's call it worker tracking software.
Okay, working tracking software reveal that companies that use worker tracking software improvement in terms of productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And quality of work. Moreover,
Mm-hmm. What about some data?
but if I want to add some data, like in the same, I mean, like same article done by New York, or I will add.
Well, yeah, you're developing. This is developing the idea.
Okay.
So in that article, what was revealed about companies that don't use this tracking software? There's that one very specific example of the, oh, we've got it right here. Hang on. Let's just copy. Okay, so you need to transform this into proper sentences.
Okay, company had working from home. Post noticed that they were logging in late and not being very productive. Okay.
Here, I'll put it in here. That's our example. One example in the article.
Company in the article. Okay.
Or let's keep it simple. Let's just say, for example,
one company had workers working from home. Post noticed they were logging in late and not being very productive. Okay.
We got to fix the grammar here. For example, we don't need to say the boss, right? One company had workers working from home.
Noticed
they were logging in late and not being very productive. They had workers working from home.
We have to put in between two commas, like working from home due to the COVID-19 quarantine. Notice they were logging in late and not being very productive.
Okay, now what about the rest of it?
After they use the software tracking.
After they implement. Implement is a very good word. It means put something into practice.
Okay. Implemented tracking technology. Productivity was improving.
Productivity immediately improved because employees knew they were being monitored. Okay. Do we need anything else? Is there anything else here that we can add? Okay, we don't have another reason, but we can perhaps add this other idea.
I have a question. This sentence as a grammar, that use worker tracking software. The same paragraph. An article published in the New York Times this year revealed that companies that use worker tracking. Okay, so here uses verb. I thought. Okay.
Yeah, we could transform this to
The use of. No, the use of that using.
so we got rid of that use and changed it to the participle using.
Yeah, using worker tracking. Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have this idea when people, the reason is that when people know they are being watched, they behave as they are expected to behave. They are on their best behavior, period. Okay, we don't have anything else. Okay, Allah.
Yes.
Last sentence in the paragraph.
Okay, when these reasons are considered, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, of monitoring workers.
Okay.
But we wrote outweighed in the topic sentence.
Mm-hmm. That's the significant statement.
I know, but
just for language. Okay, what's a synonym for outweigh?
Maybe far greater or exceed.
That's it. Exceed is the simplest one. Exceed. Or are far
greater
than. Are far greater than the disadvantages.
Or maybe the benefits of monitoring workers cannot be ignored.
But in this, okay, that's true. But in this type of essay, you have to give the advantages, the disadvantages, and your opinion. This reinforces what your opinion is. Are far greater than is an argument. Exceed is an argument. So that's why, like, this language is quite specific. And
because it's comparative, this one, no? Far greater.
Yeah, but this is an argument, or far greater. That's my argument, that the advantages exceed the disadvantages. And this is a situation where you can choose one word or 4 words. Okay, what about the first body paragraph? Let's this time start with Safa.
A number of disadvantages are associated with monitoring the employees.
Can we use a synonymous phrase? Because we've used that word a few times.
Okay, monitors. You mean the monitors?
Yeah. What are some synonyms for monitoring?
Number of advantages are associated with the surveillance.
With the that's a good one. Surveillance of workers.
Can we say with surveilling?
Workers at home.
Yep.
Or workers working from home.
Surveillance of workers at home. Workers working from home. Yeah, you could do that too.
Can we say surveilling?
The workers at home.
Yes, you can. It's surveilling is a much less common version of surveillance. It's not very commonly used as a verb, but yes, you can. The surveillance of workers at home. The surveillance
Just because I feel like surveillance of workers at home give me impression of like surveillance even if they don't work. Like
yes, good. And the surveillance of employees working from home. Let's do it the way you suggested, with surveillance of employees working from home, like that?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Critics point to that. To the I have to mention, right? To the
Yeah, so this is our reason. Yeah.
Critics point to the I want to say again monitoring. Okay, to surveillance.
But what is our, how would you summarize the main criticism? Let's just bring this stuff down here. Just gonna put it underneath here.
Critics point to that. When you're being under surveillance long time, you will feel uncomfortable.
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 Comfortable.
Comfortable.
Remember, it's comfter. It's like after.
Mm-hmm.
After a long day, you want to be comfortable on your couch. Comfortable
Okay.
after.
Okay, you will feel uncomfortable. Comfortable.
Not comfortable, comfortable.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable. Okay. You will feel uncomfortable.
Comfortable.
Comfortable. Comfortable. And lead to.
Which will lead to.
Which will lead to decrease your productivity.
Well, you can't say that if the other paragraph says that it leads to increased productivity. Right? That if you wrote that, it would contradict the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Critics point to, now we need a transition the way you said it. If you say critics point to, then you need a noun after this, right? Critics point to what? Critics point to, but if you have a more complicated idea, it needs to be bridged with language like this. Point to the fact that
Can we say critics point to the negative impact on employees' privacy or employees' personal life?
Impact on employees'
personal life, which will let
privacy
them
is more specific.
Yeah, employees' privacy.
Okay, keep going.
Negative impact on employees' privacy and negative impact on employees' privacy and their on privacy and on their level of stress.
Okay, let's.
Or which will lead them to be more stressed.
Which will lead to work under pressure.
Causing them working in a stressful environment.
Mm-hmm. Let's use the word high pressure.
High pressure environment.
Stressful, high pressure.
Which affect their concentration, or no need to explain more?
You don't have to stick it all in that one sentence. You might want to save that for the next sentence just to develop it that way.
Okay.
Okay, so what are loss of confidentiality. This is the main point, right? Like this is the conclusion of that paragraph. So here we've got a new sentence. They will feel, this is expanding. The negative impact on employees' privacy, making them cause critics point a negative impact on employees' privacy. I'm not crazy about this sentence. I think there's like something missing in the middle, but we'll come back to this. They will feel uncomfortable, which will lead to what?
Which will lead to feeling employer doesn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Or feeling badly. Employer doesn't trust you.
Okay. Maybe this needs to go somewhere else. Let's go like this. A report released by Harvard University recently. A report released by Harvard University last month showed what? Workers who are constantly monitored
By the bosses. Or constantly monitors suffer from anxiety disorders.
Mm-hmm. Showed that what percent of workers? Large percentage of workers who constantly suffer from anxiety disorders.
Maybe 40%.
You can make up whatever you want. A report released by last night showed that a large percentage of workers who are constantly monitored suffer from anxiety disorders due to environment. Okay. This can certainly lead to problems in what way? This is the idea, right?
Increasing employer turnover rates.
Yeah, but we've got this whole idea here, right? So we've got this already. To problems as a result of resentment against the employer, which can lead to higher employee turnover. To work in a stressful, high-pressure environment where someone is constantly looking over your shoulder, even if only virtually. Okay, and why is high employee turnover bad?
Because the people will resign.
Okay, what's the next idea that follows from that? So what? They resign and?
Also, it will affect the company productivity.
Yeah, because they have to find someone new and then train them, right?
Mm.
Higher employee turnover. This, ironically,
This will cost the company time and cost to train the new staff.
this can reduce productivity because turnover okay. Based on these factors, Allah, oh, maybe he stepped away. Safa?
Yes. Based on these factors, a lot of people not preferable.
Just keep it simple. Use the template here.
Okay, based on this factor, the drawbacks is or harmful based on this factor. Monitoring
Mm-hmm.
is harmful for both companies and employee.
And it's a little bit repetitive, so we need to paraphrase this. But based on these factors, monitoring employees working from home
Lead
and
harmful for both
be harmful for For both sides, right?
Yeah. Companies
Both.
and workers.
Yeah. Let's see how this reads. A number of disadvantages are associated with the surveillance of employees working from home. Critics point to the negative impact on employees' privacy. They will feel uncomfortable, which will lead to feeling that the employer doesn't trust them. Feel uncomfortable. Constantly being watched. Feel uncomfortable. Knowing that they are being watched all the time, which will lead to feeling that the employer doesn't trust them. A report released by Harvard University last month showed that a large percentage of workers who are constantly monitored suffer from anxiety disorders due to work in a stressful, high-pressure environment where someone is constantly looking over their shoulder, even if only virtually. It can certainly lead to problems as a result of resentment against the employer, which can lead to higher employee turnover, which can cause, ironically, this can reduce productivity because turnover will cost time and money to train new staff. Okay. Based on these factors, monitoring employees working from home can be harmful for both companies and workers. Okay. There we go. And then you've already written your full thesis. And then this is very basic, right? All right, any questions about this one?
We pronounce like comfortable.
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 Mm-hmm. After work, after, comfortable.
Comfortable. Okay.
Can you say both comfortable, uncomfortable? Are you comfortable or uncomfortable? Go ahead, Safa.
Are you comfortable or comfortable?
Good. Are you comfortable or uncomfortable?
Are you comfortable or uncomfortable?
Same thing, same issue. Comforter, after.
Comfortable.
Comforter, fter.
Comfortable.
Perfect.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. One more time.
Comfortable. Uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
Uncomforter.
Comfortable.
That's right. Like you're biting your lower lip to make the
Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Then that's it for this part of the class. I'll leave you to write this one. The link is right here. And I'll just make sure that that's properly set up shortly. We're going to do just a request from Dina to do a bar chart. It's not related to this theme. It's not related to advantages, disadvantages essay. She was just struggling with one particular bar chart. So if you want to stick around for that, you're welcome to. Otherwise, that's it.